Hi, you women insurance producers, Unfiltered. We're coming at you with a conversation as usual, Linda and I. We kind of were talking today and we started spinning off some things and I was like, wait, wait, wait. Actually, you were like, wait, 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 we got to record about this, correct?
Yep. I'm the smart
Um,
one, man. I mean, what else?
I mean, this is why we're partners, Linda. You do all the heavy lifting.
Uh,
But what we're talking about today is when you're a new agent, how do you select an IMO? More importantly, how do you break up with an IMO if it's not the right fit? Because as we all know, you have to kiss a lot of frogs in this industry. You're not always, except for your case. I feel like you have been with one IMO since the beginning of it, which kudos to you. I just have not been as lucky. I know a lot of us have not. We tend to jump through hoops, excuse me, jump through different IMOs, but I feel like that's with growth, with anything, right? Like you just kind of outgrow your current situation. What are your thoughts?
well, I think first off, let's just throw a disclaimer out here that the thoughts and opinions that we share are seriously just mine and Yola's opinion. These are not documented anywhere. Take our advice, leave our advice, whatever you want. But this is our disclaimer that we don't intend to name drop or anything like that. Take it for what you will, use it for however you need to use it. But yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of times people do come into the industry thinking one thing. Maybe it's because the person who recruited them filled them full of all these hopes and dreams of how easy it was going to be, and you can do this part time and make really good money and yada yada. And then it kind of ends up being a little bit different. But I have been with one IMO my 9 years in the business. I don't know if that's smart. I don't know if that's dumb. I mean, that's everybody else can decide that. But hopefully, we say a few things here that help you guys determine who you need to plant your flag with, and show some loyalty to, and help you make more money coming 2025.
That's right. So, as a new agent, I know you and I have had this discussion before, and I feel like we debate a little bit, but we debate on a lot of stuff that are our opinions. I always said I look for comp. I'm looking for my paycheck first. You seem to think that, platform, but I think they're all important. When you're new into this business and you do see people that are recruiting you saying part-time, $5,000 a week, all of this other stuff. What do you look for when you're an agent that's just coming out and you're just licensed and you know that you need the mentorship? What do you think four important things are to kind of look for in an IMO?
Yeah, so number one, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And that's not just in this industry, that's in life in general.
Mhm.
But I do think that there are four main components that we should focus on when we're looking for the group that we want to grow with. I put a couple extra in there because not everybody's the same. Like you, for instance, your number one is compensation, and that's in my top four, but it's not my number one. So the four that I like to talk about is platform. You got to have the right platform. Meaning, if I want to be face to face, well, I need to find a company that's what they train on is face to face, not telesales. So that's platform. Number two, leads. I'm not a warm market person. I'm not a referral queen by no means. So I need to know that I'm going to have access to inventory, and I need it to be subsidized. Like I don't want to go out, have to go out and find my own leads. I want it to be in house, and I want to know exactly how much I'm going to pay. Number three is compensation. I want it to be fair, right? But the whole thing. Would you rather have 75% of a watermelon or 100% of a grape, right? So I'm willing to give a little bit of compensation to have subsidized leads, to have the platform I want, to have the training and mentorship I want. So that's kind of how I look at it. And then the fourth one is the product. I joke all the time. I could be the best light bulb salesman, but if I'm trying to sell to the Amish, I'm probably not gonna do very well. So make sure that what you're trying to sell is something that you number one value, and that there's a need out there. If you can find a need, you can find a niche that needs that, and you can make good money. And just to throw it out there, the other two that come into play is mentor and coaching. If you're brand new right off the street, I'm going to give up a little compensation to be able to sit in a trainer's car and in their presentations and see exactly what they do. It's going to make me more money long term. And then culture. I'm kind of past the point now where I'm big on culture. But you know, younger folks, newer folks into the business, culture is very, very important. You know, you want to, I think culture to me, Yola, is more important when I think of building my team. I want to surround myself with people I want to work with and I want to have fun with. So that's where culture comes in more for me. But yeah.
I mean, speaking of culture, to kind of capitalize on that or talk off of that point, I think when I first started, I was looking for more of that network and the group of people and the group of professionals. I think a lot of IMOs fail in a sense where they just show you or have you drink their Kool-Aid instead of actually teaching you how to sell, what to look for, how to be a well-rounded agent. I felt like a lot of the IMOs that I first interviewed, and yes, you know, it's a working interview because I give you a month of my time so I can see if this is a good fit. And you're going to have to invest some type of time. I don't say 30 days. I always say, you know, 90 to 120 days so you can actually really
Right.
see, or 3 to 6 months so you can see if this is a really good fit. But when you're first starting out as an agent, and if you're not making money while you're learning, I feel like that's where, you know, you not just want the culture, but where the compensation is. Because if I'm going to attend your classes and drink your Kool-Aid for 6 hours out of my week, I have to be able to pay my bills. And that's where, again, a lot of why I've kissed so many frogs is because so a lot of them just want to, you know, tell you how to be a better human being versus just how to be a good agent. You know, do you feel like that at all? Did you get into any of that? Because again, your experiences and mine have been vastly different in this business. You know, you're like a staple in your company because you've grown with them. But how was it when you first started? Did you see that as a culture? Or was it more practical for you and that's why you stayed?
So when I first came into the business, I was like most people, I fell into it. My back was up against the wall. I needed to make money. I knew that there was a situation where, you know, this industry could give me that. I had, it hadn't been long that I lost my grandmother. I think I told you that story of, you know, she told me I was going to be a millionaire. And she did. She had $1 million in insurance, but it was accidental only, and she didn't die in an accident. And I knew that my mammy was much smarter than to fall for that. And I thought, well, damn, you know, if I can keep other family members from doing that, if I can keep other granddaughters from seeing their grandfather empty their savings account to bury the love of their life, I'll do it. And you know, it was just one of those things. I got in and I needed to make a lot of money, and so I stuck it out. And then, look, I would be lying to tell you that I've never looked anywhere else, and that I haven't weighed my options. But at the end of the day, I come back and I'm kind of a big picture person. So is, you know, getting 10% more compensation worth what I'm giving up? And we say it all the time, Yola, people fear loss much more than they want gain. Like if you're telling somebody that they're going to lose something, there's a lot more fear invoked than if I tell you, hey, you do this, this, and this, and you're going to gain something. So that's kind of how I was.
I like that. I like that outlook on it. Um, and as you're developed into the industry and stuff, obviously you have had a platform where you're actually teaching agents and you grew a team and everything like that. Are you for or against people recruiting as soon as they get into the industry? Because that's another thing that we always see. Like, oh, you're licensed, call your 5 or 25 closest friends and let them know that this is an opportunity. And if you're not showing them, you're not really sharing the opportunity and it's not fair. While I agree with that to this to some extent, but not everybody's a good fit for this business. You know that, I know that. If you're half in and half out, and you do have like a job on the side, your chances of quitting at the first chance of adversity is that much higher because you've got a fallback. And like you said, you didn't have a plan B. When I got into the business, I didn't have a plan B, and I still don't have a plan B. This is where I am regardless of where the business takes me in the last, the challenges that we face as we grow, and as we grow as agents, as we grow as humans. I feel like, deviating from the plan of actually leaving insurance was never a part of it. You just kind of develop where you are and how you are, because it makes your character for a lot of times. Like it makes you into the kind of person you want to be. Do you agree?
Well, it can also make you jaded. So you have to be careful of who you allow in your headspace.
Mhm.
I've always been the kind, and I've seen plenty of people leave the IMO I'm with, and I've still maintained a friendship with those folks. But I think that they knew not to bring certain things to me. Like, I'm not a bandwagon person. I'll listen to you and I'll understand and I can empathize with, this not being a good fit and you need to move on. But if you know that you're the type of person that's easily persuaded or easily influenced negatively, you need to stay away from that. So I think that's the number one thing. And back to the recruiting, like as soon as you get into the business, I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing the opportunity, but be honest with folks. Like, hey, I'm just getting into this. It seems great now. This is what I've done so far. If you want to know more, I can get you in touch with, my mentor or my coach. But I think it comes down to, at least with me, people that are around you, they want to see your success. Like, they want to see you do something before they're willing to, make the jump. And all we want, as the one who made the jump, is just to know that somebody else is willing to do it too. And so, I mean, I think that, it's a two-way street, but no, I don't think that you as an agent um, should recruit and have a downline. No, because look, you and I, Yola, we've both had teams. Actually, if you want to know the truth, I just signed my entire team away on
I know
Friday.
that.
That was my
I know that
choice.
hurt a
I
little
wanted
bit.
to do it, but I I want to get back to, like, I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from experience, and
Mhm.
so I know exactly what I want this go round. And if I decide to take the next step and build a team again, it'll be a powerhouse team because I know exactly who I'm looking for. But that being said, when you first get into the business and you take a charge back, it might be $400, $500. That roll up from an agent who doesn't work out, that you recruited too young and you didn't know how to train them, it could be 4,000. And that's, you've got to get to the point where you can stomach those bigger numbers.
Yep.
What's the biggest roll up you've taken?
13,000. It wasn't
Oof.
that big. I mean, I've heard agents that have gotten 60, $80,000 from a team, 90,000, 100, and have paid it back and, went back to work. Because the great thing about this business, and I've always believed that, is that it's a license to print money. We can always write ourselves out of debt, whether it is carrier debt or whether it's, personal debt, whatever it is. It's like you just reverse engineer your numbers and you see how much you actually need to go out there, because
Yep.
there's no cap as to how many people you can help and how much money you can write. You just have to figure out what those numbers look like for you. And if you are buying leads, factor in those costs, because it's all marketing money at the end of it. But how are you spending your marketing money? It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of agents, if they're sitting there and they brag about writing 20, $30,000 a month, great. But what did you spend on leads? Was it 10,000? Because if that's the case, then you're not doing it. Or, what did that look like so you can do it? Are you still renting your house? Are you renting a Ferrari at this point? Are you payment poor just because you make money? How is your business structuring you and sustaining you so you can actually be that next step of an agent? But again, when you're new, how do you navigate? How do you go through it?
I think the number one thing when you're brand new and you've got a license, you've passed the stuff. I think you need to sit with yourself for a little while. And you need to come up with your non-negotiables of, what you're willing to do. You need to write it down. I think that people come into this business not realizing that you're your own boss.
Mhm.
It's very easy to take a day off. You don't have somebody yelling at you or threatening to fire you. But at the same time, I say it all the time, the right hand pays the left hand. And
Mhm.
so if the right hand ain't working, the left hand ain't getting paid, shit goes crazy real quick. So figure out what you want. Figure out if you want to be face to face. Figure out if you want to do telesales. That would be my first thing that I would tell you. Because don't go with a company that can't train you in what you really want. And then the second thing that I would tell somebody young is stop with the I'm getting interviewed. Stop with, XYZ company is, I've got an interview with XYZ company and I'm going to try to get this job. No, 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 honey. No, reverse that. You are interviewing them. You have to make sure, like if I was interviewing Yola, I would need to make sure that our personalities align. I would need to make sure that she's somebody that I could stand to be around long enough to learn. We've all had those bosses that we hated when they walked into the room, like we didn't even want to be around them. the,
Mhm.
the person that hires you is a big influence on how well you're going to do. So make sure that there's a connection there, and be honest and transparent. Let them know, hey, I've only got this amount of hours I can work, or here's my situation financially. And I tell people, Yola, um, especially when I was really recruiting, I need I'm going to get really into your personal space, like to the point where I need to know when you're getting deposits. I need to know what you're making. I need to know what you're spending. You know the hours you're working, because
Yeah.
I can't help you succeed if I don't know these pieces of information.
Mhm.
Do you guys do like activity trackers or anything on your side for young agents?
No, I mean, I'm part of a team that's a lot of independent agents, and everybody's just trusted to run their own business and do their own stuff. But I mean, it is important and pivotal when you're starting, because these are things like you and I have been in this business for umpteenth years at this point, and we've learned the hard way on a lot of stuff. What we're talking about now has taken years of experience to cultivate. So I feel like a part of all of this with you is for us to actually you like use this platform to kind of shortcut a few things for some women, so that way they're not spending their time, their energy, their resources on things that, talking to us about and talking through it is, it's pivotal, because nobody really opens the veil or and tells you everything that's happening in full transparency, especially when they're trying to make money off of you.
Yeah, and listen, that's a double-edged knife there, because there's some things that you don't need to know right when you first get started. If we told you all of the bad right out of the gate, you would never start. So there is like a trickle down process of, hey, all right, you've got a chargeback. Let me really, really explain this situation to you now. But until you get one, you're not going to understand it anyway.
Mhm.
So there is like a I don't know, a sweet spot per se on that. Let me talk about one thing on tracking, and then I've got one other point, and we'll jump into how to break up.
Yes.
I mean, I know how to break up on a lot of things, not on this one, but um, back to the tracking, the activity tracker. If you're brand new, your coach should give you an activity tracker. And if you want one, we can put one out for you guys. They're pretty simple. But for me, I'm face to face. So I'm going to track how many leads I start the day with, how many doors of those leads I knock, how many answer the door, how many let me in the door to present, and then how many presentations lead to a sale. And just like Yola was saying a second ago about reverse engineering, once you have 30 days of solid numbers, we can reverse engineer and tell you exactly how many leads you need to buy, how many doors you need to knock every day in order to make the money you need to make. And then you can scale it. But if you're just willy nilly in it out here, like Saturday we were talking about gambling on Coffee and Conversations. If you're just, pressing the button hoping that you hit a jackpot, it's going to be a long, aggravating, boring, stressful career. So track your shit and figure out exactly what you need. And I guess maybe comment below or something, and we'll get that out to you if you want. My question for you, Yola, if you don't have anything on tracking.
I mean, I track everything. I track all of my numbers. I track all of my worksheets. My spreadsheets are everything. And I have invested into a CRM because a lot of like your agent touches after the fact. I am
You
working
just brought up
on
something.
touching a lot of that stuff in my clients to stay in front of them because again, maintaining your book of business is just as important as buying it and getting into it and actually acquiring these people. So that's another thing we're not really taught as agents when you're brand new is how do you track it, what do you look for, how to actually make those numbers work in your favor, because at the end of the day this is just a numbers game. If you take your emotions out of all of it and not worry about how much you're selling and what your bills are like, just run through your numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers will actually always work themselves out. And like you said, after 30 days, you'll start seeing your habits. I actually have a habit tracker too that I'm started because your business habits are one thing, but then your personal habits about your businesses are another thing. How's your discipline? What's your time management like? Are you spending too much time scrolling on Facebook versus actually giving people content and doing something with that time? I'm not against social media at all. Obviously, that's how we built our community. But I'm more intentional now instead of just like you said, a Saturday was a good coffee and conversations because you said a lot of us gamble with our business and our careers too. Like how many of us are just pressing a button hoping that we're going to get a jackpot versus actually figuring out what the numbers are so we can actually get to that jackpot. We always say it's not a get rich quick, but it's a guaranteed get rich with this business if you really know your numbers and you really treat it like a business and run it like a business.
Yeah, and you hit two things there, and I hate when you do this because then it brings up other points.
We can
Um,
talk forever.
don't like I guess I shouldn't say don't, because if you really want to do it, then do it. But when you first get into the business and if you've not sold a policy, you do not need to be getting thousands of other dollars spent. You
Mhm.
work with your state license. I
Mhm.
see brand new people haven't sold a policy yet, and they're like, "Well, I've got 15 state licenses." Why? That's money that's money going out when there's no money coming in. Same thing. Yola's got some systems. She's got a CRM that she pays for and different things. You don't need that either. A good old pen and paper or an Excel spreadsheet does just fine. Don't find reasons to spend money until you're profitable, and then maybe put some in. And then you said something else, Yola, on that. There's a big difference in being busy and being productive.
Mhm.
I can swear that I worked really hard and all I did was drive from house to house to house to house and take an hour lunch and scroll Facebook. And I was busy, but there was no productivity in that. So make sure that you don't fall victim to, thinking that you're really working hard and you're hardly working is the other one. And last point on this, because we differ on this one too. You are of the philosophy, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I'm in the philosophy, I feel like, hey, if this company has everything that I want to offer, I want to put all of my eggs in that basket because I want to maximize what I can gain. Meaning, if I've got a contract here and a contract there and over here and over, no mentor is going to give you their best effort because you got others,
Mhm.
right? And I say that I had people. I don't care if you do that, but you're not going to. If Yola, who has all of her contracts with me, is calling my phone, and Tina has two contracts with me and is calling my phone at the same time, I'm answering Yola because Yola is depending on me for all of her money, not just part of it. And I think that's fair. But what is your opinion of spreading things out?
I mean, that you said it. I'm of the opposite philosophy only because I'm an independent agent. So I feel like hanging my flag and my alliance with one company, whether it's just their numbers and their marketing, they're not really paying into my business. I keep my options open. And that's what I usually tell people is just it's not really putting it in different baskets as much as keeping your options open. Because listen, Linda, Linda, listen. You are blessed enough that you got a good company right off the bat. Okay. A lot of us are not as lucky because again, we are promised one thing and we're misled into some things else. And these are personal experiences. Of course, they're not everybody. And I'm not representing everybody in this business. This is just my own personal experience. And that's why I have decided to because at the end of the day, you don't sell your IMO, you sell yourself. Your clients buy you. They don't buy the policy, essentially. They can
Mhm.
get the policy anywhere. Life insurance is purchasable even online these days. So, what are you doing as an agent? What are you doing to actually make sure that you're the best agent that they've seen, that nobody else, Linda's not going to come behind me and replace my policy? Because guess what? My people know me. So, putting my contracts through different carriers and companies where I'm not bound, as you know, with the situation that I'm dealing with right now, it just keeps my options open. So that way, if anything does happen where that relationship goes south, I am independent and I get to choose my business and where to place it somewhere else. But we can agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, we both have valid points. I mean, we both have valid points. I would say, when you're new, start out with 5 contracts, five, not 500,
Mhm.
5. Don't take every contract that's available. And that way, if a relationship does turn south and there has to be a divorce or a breakup, you have options and you're not locked out of the business because you've allowed a company to hold you hostage. So I think that would be the middle ground. But Yola, we've been on here about 25 minutes. So let's jump into if we got to go through the big D. And I don't mean Dallas.
I mean, you know that I'm a lot better at breakups than you are.
I hope I don't have to have a breakup again for the rest of my life, but it's probably not going to happen. But what's some of the things that if you know that you've gotten, let's say you've grown, the IMO or the company you started with, they're not advancing the way you want, or maybe they change their system. What how would you tell somebody to go about having that conversation of severing that business relationship?
I think it's what you said first is really aligning about your non-negotiables, sitting there and talking about what your non-negotiables are, if you're truly getting them from this company or not. Like, listen, you don't just break up or you don't sell your whole car or get rid of it just because you have a flat tire. We always talk about that. You have to make sure that the relationship is in a whole. If there's just one thing that's missing from it, okay, there's something to work on. But if you have a bad engine and a transmission that doesn't work and flat tires and all of it, maybe it's time to get rid of the whole car, right? So sit there and evaluate, really, are you truly getting your non-negotiables from this carrier or from this company? If you are, then okay, maybe just work on the flat tire. But if you're not, then actually like bring it up to leadership and give them the opportunity to fix it before you go and start dating other people. Like I'm not also a person that believes in just, closing a relationship and starting a new one without actually telling the first person that I'm not with them anymore, right? So I'm going to give you the opportunity to fix it before I walk away. But if it's not fixed, then guess what? I have to make sure that my alignment or my business practice and my personal, goals are being met. And that's where you have the breakup conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you hit some good points there. I think number one is you need to really think to yourself, what part do you hold in this problem?
Mhm.
It's never just a one-way street. It's never like one of those I'm doing everything right and they're doing everything wrong.
Mhm.
So what part of it do you own? And take accountability for that and have the conversation. And you're right. You don't trade in a car because of a flat tire or an empty gas tank. So, give them a chance. The thing that I see, Yola, and this is, young agents all the way through experienced agents, is there's a quote that says the worst thing about communication is thinking that it even happened. And so you might be thinking that you've expressed your, displeasure, or you've expressed your pain points, and you might be putting the onus on your mentor or your coach. And really, you've kind of beat around the bush. So
Mhm.
remember, you're a business owner. You got to act like that, and you're just going to be blunt and direct when you say it. Where this, your manager shouldn't be coddling you. So you just need to come out and say, hey, here's the issues that I have. And I remember, I laugh about this all the time. 9 years, same company, same direct for all of those years. And we've gone through phases of our relationship. And there was a point where we despised each other. I don't know if he despised me as much as I despised him, but we literally had to get into a shouting, cussing match and tell each other what we really thought. And then after I said my piece and after he cussed me back out, it was like we washed our hands and we were done. But it took that hard, tough conversation of saying, hey, you're failing me in these areas. And then showing each other the grace to allow for time for it to be fixed. You didn't get to the situation you're in overnight. So the problem isn't going to be fixed overnight. You got to be willing to kind of work on it. Here's a couple of other things I would say is reread your contract. Reread your contract and see what you actually signed. And if you're like me, I didn't read it the first time. So the second time reading it, I'm probably going to learn a lot of different things. So don't be like me and Yola, read the contract the first time. But before you go making demands and saying what you're going to do, reread it and see what you're legally bound to. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to, is that. And number two, Yola, I think that if there's going to be a breakup, I've always worked very easy on like, hey, if you don't want to work with me, I don't want you to have to work with me. I
Mhm.
want you to be successful. So go somewhere else and be successful.
Mhm.
And I've turned over a couple of big teams like that. If they've handled their debt, easy peasy, I'll sign the release. But if you owe me 2,000, the biggest roll up I took was 32,000. If you owe me that kind of money, no, I'm not going to release you. You can set your time out. I don't care if it kicks you out of the business because you tried to kick me out of the business.
Mhm.
Right? So handle your debt, reread your contracts, and give people the grace to fix mistakes that maybe they don't even know they're making.
Yep, I agree. And it all starts with communication. We talk about crucial conversations all the time. And like you said, one thing I would advise is to actually do everything in writing, just because to CYA on all of it. What you say in a conversation over the phone, you might not remember, and the other party might not either. So the more
Mm-hmm.
documentation that you have, the better it's going to be in your favor. So, like you said, read your contracts, know your black and whites. Know all of where, the legalities of what your business is going to do. Because when you were so new, we get like, we don't even care about what the fine print says, right? We're signing on the dotted line like nothing is ever going to go wrong. Well, as we know, it's a business and it's people, and the more that you are included with people and you're part of it, you're going to have disagreements. You're going to have people that are just not going to see eye to eye with you. So the more that you have documented and the better your contract's wording is, and the more that you understand your contract, that's the best thing that you can do for yourself and your business.
Yeah, and I just writing a note here because I don't have a good. Sarah laughs at me all the time. Says I have a short term memory, which is good for her most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, here's the other thing. If you think that you're just going to go to a new IMO or a new company and everything is just going to be grand and wonderful, you're setting yourself up for heartache, because
Mhm.
unless you change, the situation isn't going to change. You're just putting a new uniform on, putting a new jersey on. So don't think that, well, I just got a shitty mentor, you know, because at the end of the day, it's up to you to make this successful. Your mentor isn't going to do it for you. Your mentor isn't going to build the team for you, and he's not going to sell policies for you. He's going to help you. And
Mhm.
I say, I will help you as much as you're helping yourself.
I
But
mean, it always goes back to the conversation of you can't have 12 crazy exes, right? Like at one point you have to sit there
yeah,
and really self-evaluate and say, okay, first of all, why do I keep on attracting these type of people?
yep,
And second of all, what's wrong with me that I am the same person in these relationships, regardless of, so there's a fine balance there. Like we're not saying don't break up. If you're being abused, for sure, walk away. If you're being, assaulted, for sure, walk away. But at what point do you say it's not everybody else's fault, it's mine, and I need to
yeah.
fix it and figure it out from here so that I don't keep on seeing the same mistakes and I'm just under another IMO every year.
And if you don't have 12 crazy exes, you probably are the crazy ex. Just say it.
On a
Just
lighter
say it.
note, have you ever sold life insurance to an Amish person? Because you said that, and I'm like, I've been thinking about it our whole conversation. I know that they don't need light bulbs for obvious reasons.
Some of them actually do. Some of they we've progressed. But
And
I'm a
if you're
history
Amish, this
person
is
and
not
I
meant to
love that
offend
stuff.
you.
But yeah, it's not, I have not that I know of. That I know of. But I heard on at service this morning, I heard the guest preacher. He said something that was pretty powerful to me. I made a note. It says, throw it away when it is a brick instead of trying to knock it down when it's a wall. So take care of it when it's small. Don't let it build and build and build and build and build. And now all of a sudden, when I come to you and I say, hey, I've got all these issues, and I list out 1,000 issues that I have, that puts the other person on, that puts the person you're trying to leave on the defense. Like you should have told me each time that you had an issue. So don't let it progress, to that level. And the biggest thing that I would say on the whole um, breakup thing is don't get into a pissing contest. Like one of you, if it has to be you as the quote unquote in this scenario, the subordinate that takes the high road, take the high road. You might have somebody that's just being a complete jerk. That doesn't mean you have to react in the same way. It doesn't have to mean you've got to match their energy. And Yola would probably throw hands, but back it down just a little bit, and be able to walk away with your dignity, and know that your reputation will precede you anyway. So make sure you handle things as diplomatically as possible, or just keep your mouth shut. Just don't say anything
I mean, full disclosure, I don't throw hands anymore.
anymore. Anymore.
That's not to say that I haven't before. I'm just saying that as you grow into an adult, and into this business, you're right. Your reputation supersedes you and it's not worth it. Would you rather be rich or would you rather be right? Figure out your best interest, figure out how you're going to find to a common ground. This is a business at the end of it. And women, we're emotional human beings. So I feel like if you're having a bad day and you're just on one of those trips and all of a sudden you're having a meltdown, but we're in a very male dominated industry. Guys don't think the way that we do. They're not going to care that you're having a bad day and on your period and all of a sudden the whole world is ending. You probably just need chocolate and a nap. So sit there and really self-evaluate and step it back. Like Linda said, not every action deserves a reaction. And I've learned, I think that's my biggest growth is I was quick to react and I still am in some sorts, that, but sit back and evaluate. Not everything needs to be answered today. Not everything needs to be solved today. It's
And
not.
not everything needs to be in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
You don't look, we're all on Facebook, and I've got family members. I'll just put it out there. I got family members that I can tell what's going on in their life based on what they're posting in their name. When their name changes every other day. Don't put that stuff. Look, the majority of time like if 100 people knew your problems, 80 of them are glad you're having those damn problems.
Mm-hmm.
So don't, people don't need to know everything. And guys, we're in the age of social media. There's screenshots. Don't put anything anywhere that you don't want everybody in the world to know, because I guarantee you they will. And that stuff looks bad. So try to keep it, to a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all I've got to say on this.
Well, I think we've done a great conversation about breakups, and we're right at the 45 minutes that we said that we were going to do. So I think this is a great note to end it. We did touch on very good points. And I also want to disclose again, these are just our personal experiences with the business. This has no bearing on any IMO or any three-letter organization or any of the, this is just us getting together as people that have done this for a while and have seen a lot of agents fail through this business because they hit a hurdle like breaking up with an IMO. You're not the first one. People break up all the time. You just make sure that your integrity and your heart's in the right place. And at the end of the day, just go to work. It'll all work itself
Yeah.
out. It's just
And if you don't want to drink their Kool-Aid, learn how to make your own.
amen. Pull up a seat at your own table and create your own table. Not all the tables are going to serve you. We always talk about that. Like they're just not our tribe. They're just not, the people that we want to eat with. And make sure that whoever you're doing business with, you want to eat with, you want to do life with. So that's a very, like, don't, if there's red flags, trust your red flags from the beginning of it. We talk about dating all the time, but
Woo! Circus! Woo!
exactly. It's not a carnival. If it's a red flag, really sit there and evaluate that maybe I shouldn't be going to the circus today. Like,
Oh, yeah. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening, and we're gonna post this to the group and then the channel, right?
yes, this will all be live in about an hour or so as soon as I have my second cup of coffee because it's been a day.
All right, guys, signing off.
Peace, y'all.